You are now listening to the Music Business Dreams podcast, brought to you by KDMR Music.
Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode 10 of the Music Business Dreams podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Jackson. No fancy intro today. I'm really excited. I hope you guys had an amazing Labor Day weekend. Mine was amazing and very eventful, and that's why there's no fancy intro today. I'm a little late getting this podcast uploaded, so I'm just making sure you guys get it on Wednesday on time, like always. So this week on the podcast, we had a great conversation, or I had a great conversation with Lennon Cihak. Now, we'll get into his intro a little bit later, but what you need to know is that he is a music writer based out of Florida. He does a lot of work in the EDM genre, but he's got great tips for getting your music seen and published by blogs and other media outlets so that you can get more fans and more ears on your music. And that's always an amazing thing. So I'm going to talk to him about everything from how to set up your pitch, how to find writers to reach out to, who to reach out to, when you should reach out to them, when you should hire a publicist. So if you've been looking for ways to get your music in the press and get more attention for your music, then this is the episode for you. So I'll skip the pleasantries and let's get right into the interview. All right, guys, our next guest graduated from Full Sail University with his degree in music production and currently writes for 5 online music publications. He also does work in public relations and manages 2 artists. So welcome to the Music Business Dreams podcast, Lennon Cihak.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem. So I want to jump right in. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in music?
Well, I always have been a kind of musical person. My dad was in a band for 25 years. He collected, still collects vinyl records. He's been collecting for a little over 30 years, and he's got about 50 or 60,000 of them. So he's kind of a walking music library. So that's kind of where my initial introduction to music came. And my mom was also, she's not like musically inclined, like can't play an instrument, but she loves to listen to music. She loves the oldies, just like my dad was. My dad is a guitar player and somewhat of a vocalist. He usually takes guitar over singing. So then in about 2nd grade, I picked up the piano and started learning that. And I took piano lessons till literally my last day of high school, maybe a week after. And then I couldn't, my teacher couldn't teach me anymore because she doesn't teach anybody after high school. So I took piano for about 10 years and then went to Full Sail. I picked up some interest in electronic music production. That's kind of what I wanted to do, is write music in the computer and kind of learn that, because I knew that's where the industry was at and how to capture audio and record all of that stuff. So after I went to Full Sail for music production, I loved it, by the way. Had a great time. I was able to network and all kinds of fun stuff. And I kind of didn't really know what I wanted to do. I loved writing music. I thought about going into film composition and working at a studio, to working in the music business, from going into, say, even entertainment law recently. I've been kind of encouraged and inspired by that. That's kind of an interesting realm because it's kind of challenging. And even doing artist management, that's kind of what I'm aiming for at the moment. And after Full Sail, I went and I wasn't getting a lot of hits. I was doing a lot of freelancing stuff. So I reached out to EDM.com and said, hey, I love electronic music. I like to write. Why not combine my knowledge of music and love of electronic music in one, and also share my expertise and stuff that I've learned and will learn throughout my journey in the industry. So then after EDM.com, I got picked up there. I reached out to Noiseporn. I got picked up there. Actually, they hired me because of my degree in music production, so I could kind of be more technical with various reviews, I guess you could say. Right. And then it kind of trickled down from there. I got picked up a public relations gig. I got in with Magnetic Magazine. I wrote for Dancing Astronaut for a little bit. I just started earlier this year with Digital Music News, and also with EARMILK this year as well. So it's been kind of a all over the world, all over the industry kind of thing, but it's been great to be able to kind of network and learn all the facets of the industry.
Right. So when you were getting started, that initial email to EDM.com, did you have any writing experience prior to that?
Any journalism experience? No, right. I had none. I did my own blog, but I didn't really have any direction for it. It was just kind of a place where I wanted to, because I always liked writing. It was always something that came naturally to me. It was a creative output on top of me doing photography and music and all that stuff. But I didn't have any journalism experience prior, working at a publication prior to EDM.
Wow. And so they just took a chance on you.
Yep, they took a chance. Usually they'll being that I had such a huge love for electronic music, that's what they're looking for, because if you're passionate about something, you're going to give it more effort. And I think that's what EDM, and they kind of give that opportunity for those that were interested in and had a passion for electronic music and also knew the industry.
Nice. So why music journalism?
It's not my end goal. I don't want to be doing it within 5 to 10 years. It's just kind of like a limbo status type thing. It's something that I really enjoy doing at the time, but it's very rewarding. I've met a lot of amazing people. I've built a lot of new friendships that I'll have throughout my entire professional career. But it's just been kind of a thing to, one, continue networking, and it's been a great thing because the music industry is entirely based on who you know, and getting into different gigs and new opportunities and all that stuff is all in who you know. And the writing has been able to provide me with that. I've met with so many amazing people, reviewed incredible products, interviewed some incredible artists. So it's not what I want to do ultimately, because it is a lot of work, and sometimes because I do have a full-time job at Full Sail now. So I am doing 40, 50 hours a week there, and then I'm trying to write for 5 other publications, keep up my own publication, trying to work on a couple other side projects and manage a couple artists. It's kind of grueling and relentless.
It definitely seems that way. So what tips would you have for someone else who's aspiring to be a music journalist?
Continue writing. Always be putting out good content, stuff that is true to you. Don't force yourself to write. Connect with other journalists like myself. If you really want to write for a certain publication, reach out to the editors, reach out to the founder, reach out to the social media manager, reach out to the other bloggers at that publication, and just say, hey, I'm interested in writing for your publication. Here's some of my work. Just be tenacious and don't ever give up. Just stay on their radar and just continue writing and building your portfolio.
Nice. So as you're, doing the music journalism, but you've also done some public relations work for artists and labels as well. Let's see. Could you talk about just the tips that you have, or not even the tips necessarily, but what drew you to the public relations field and what you like about it?
I think honestly the public relations thing just kind of fell into my hands, because I don't know many journalists that aren't publicists. So if you're a journalist, you're almost assumed to be a publicist. And it works out really well because you build a lot of connections at the different blogs. So if you're, say, promoting one of your artists, you have an an unlimited network of connections at various blogs. So I didn't really intend to get into it, and then a friend of mine hit me up, and he's like, hey, you'd be really good at it. You write for some really nice blogs. I'd like to connect with you. And then he brought me on, and I contracted with him for about a year. And then I got my full-time job, and we had to part ways just because the public relations and the full-time job was kind of a lot at the time. And it still is a lot with the full-time job, and that's my main source of income. So trying to save my pennies and work towards the next big step.
Okay. So, as far as publicity is concerned, do you think it's okay for artists to take that on themselves, or do you recommend hiring a publicist? And kind of when would you make that switch if you're an artist?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm actually writing a really lengthy blog post on I'm still working on it. It's just over 4,000 words right now, and I'm about a little over halfway done with it. So I answered that question in that blog post. So the thing with that is publicity, you see a lot better results when you have connections and when you have friends. So, for example, if your friend comes up and asks you, like, hey, can you do me this favor? You're going to more apt do that favor if you have the time. But if a stranger comes up and says, hey, can you do this favor, the same favor for me? You're kind of be like, I don't know who you are. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to, put my time elsewhere. It's the same thing with publicity. So if the artist has a lot of connections within their respective genre for different publications, Spotify playlists, whatever it may be, then I would say you could do it yourself. However, it can be a very daunting task because it is a lot of organization, especially if you're trying to organize premieres, because you don't want another publication to share the post that was supposed to be premiered at another publication. That can really hurt your reputation. But if you don't have those connections, or you don't have the time, or you don't have the knowledge or organizational skills or anything like that, I would definitely recommend hiring somebody that does have those connections, knows what they're doing, and is able to provide you with results.
Okay. And so for an artist who's just starting out, who may not have the budget for a publicist, but they've got all the time in the world, how would you recommend they go about making those connections?
This is exactly what I did when I started getting publicist work, and I'm like, I don't have any connections. Let me find some. I literally went on, okay, what kind of music is this that I'm going to be promoting? Okay, this is electronic music, so I'm going to do some research on electronic blogs. Find electronic blogs, like you have EDM.com, you have Dancing Astronaut, EDM Tunes, you have Magnetic Magazine, you have all these electronic blogs. Reach out to the people who are publishing on the site. Find out what their email is, shoot them an email. Sometimes they're okay with sending a Facebook message. I would preferably not reach out to them on Facebook first. I would send an email, and if they say, hey, you can reach out to me on Facebook, that's fine. Then once you find the bloggers, reach out to them, say, hey, I have a song coming out, etc., etc. Reach out to the editors, reach out to basically everybody you can, and build a reputation with them. You can also, what I like to do is go on LinkedIn. A lot of these people are on LinkedIn. It's basically a professional Facebook, and it'll tell you exactly what position they are, how long they've been at the publication, and all that fun stuff. So just go on the publications that you want and reach out to the people who are posting on the site. Find the editor, reach out to them, introduce yourself. Don't be spammy. That's something that because remember, bloggers and publishers do get a lot of emails and messages per day, especially the editors at some of the bigger publications. Mm-hmm. So you have to make yours kind of stand out. But just basically start a conversation, introduce yourself, and reach out to them. It's really that simple. It's just the same way as making a new friend in a group of people at an event.
Right. And so you kind of touched on the fact that you get so many emails and so many pitches. What is it that makes one artist or pitch stand out from another one as you're going through your inbox?
Yeah, that's a good question. I even did a blog post on what I look for in pitches, and I also received the perfect pitch about a month or two ago, and I shared a blog post on that as well and broke it down as to why it was the perfect pitch. For me, I look for a story. When an artist is pitching me their music, or a publicist is pitching me their artist's music, or manager, whoever, I'm looking to share a story with the people that are reading my articles on the various publications. So if you send me a link to your new album on SoundCloud, and I click on it, and you have a couple thousand followers, but there's no bio. You have no bio on your SoundCloud. You have no bio on Facebook. There's no press release attached. There's nothing. I have no information on you whatsoever. How do you expect me to write about the song unless I'm just breaking down the song and talking about the elements within the song, which is something I do quite often. But I want to tell the audience, especially if you're a newer burgeoning artist, I want to talk about you. What inspires you? Where did you get this inspiration for this music? Why are you writing this song? What is the story behind this piece? Because believe it or not, there's always a story behind a piece of music, even if you don't think there isn't one. And if there isn't one, create one. Be creative, you're a musician, and create a story that publicists or that bloggers like myself can talk about.
Okay. So, that's a great tip. Now, with some people, artists that I talk to, they're afraid to go after certain blogs or websites to post their music because they feel like they've got to reach a certain level first. Is that true, or is it really just about the pitch?
It really depends. Some artists or some blogs are much pickier. You see a lot better results if you're pitching to publications that are sharing music that is similar to yours. For example, if a blog is only sharing dubstep music and that's their focus, you wouldn't want to send them a hip-hop song because chances are they're not going to share that. That's the same with anything. If you're pitching to a playlist and they only share dubstep music in their playlist, you wouldn't want to send them a hip-hop song because chances are they're not. So if there's a publication that is sharing, say, techno music, and your song is techno or a genre or a similar like subgenre of that, then absolutely pitch to them. It doesn't matter, in my opinion. I get pitches, I get press releases from like David Guetta's publicist, and then I get pitches from people that are literally a month in or have just started a brand new project. And chances are I'm gonna listen to both of them, but sometimes the artist that is just starting out is way better than the stuff that David Guetta is writing, given that David Guetta has top quality studio, but the music and the quality and the passion that goes into the unknown artist, this new artist, is much more inspiring to me. So if I really like the song, then I'm more apt to share it. Regardless of the stats of if you have how many SoundCloud followers you have, how many Spotify streams you have. In addition to that, I'm also looking for how active this artist is on various social medias. So, for example, how engaged they are with their fans. Are they interacting with their fans, or are they just using them as tallies to better themselves and grow themselves? So if there's an artist that is sharing their personal stuff with their fans and they're interacting with them and they have a really close relationship with their fans, I'm going to value that more over than an artist that just looks at them as Spotify streams, SoundCloud followers, and all that stuff.
Right. Okay. So do you have an example of maybe an artist that was lesser known when they reached out to you, and because you decided to review their work, they ended up getting a lot bigger?
Yeah, one of them that comes to mind is their name is Kuro, Kuuro. They were signed to Monster Cat. They had one of the most anticipated and most talked about debuts on the label since its inception. So when that song hit my inbox, I was like, these guys are going to be big. They have a huge sound, incredible song structure, and I absolutely love them. And now they're already performing at festivals. They have multiple releases on Monster Cat. They have collaborations. They have done extraordinarily well, and they're going to continue doing extraordinarily well. And that was an artist. It's actually an electronic duo that I took a chance on. I'm like, their sound is going to be, it's incredible. It's unmatched compared to some of these other people. So I'm like, I have to write about these guys because I know that they're going to be big.
Nice. So what would you say are the top mistakes that artists make when they're sending things to you?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, they're not sending a story. They're just like, hey, here's my new song. It comes out on Friday. I would like your thoughts. And that's all they send me. I don't know anything about the song. I can tell you how good the song is or how bad the song is, but I don't know anything about the song. If I knew more about the song and the story that goes on behind it, I will be able to better understand why you're doing certain things in the track. So if there's something that sounds a little off to me, because I do have a degree in music production, so I'm able to kind of listen to, oh, that doesn't sound like it's in key, or that effect doesn't really work there, or the mixing is a little off. If I know a story behind that, I am able to better understand why you're doing that certain effect or in that certain part in that song. But that's the main thing that happens for me is artists just are sending me tracks and they're not introducing themselves. They're not building up a connection with me. And frankly, I'm going to be blunt, but their music just doesn't sound good. It's just not good. Because there are some people who they'll send their first song they've ever written and they want it premiered on EDM.com. I'm sorry, but you need to come back when you've worked on it and you have a little bit more of a discography.
Right. So yeah, and that's something I tell the people that I consult with all the time is, your music is the first step, right? Like any tips that you read online, whether it's on my blog or on our podcast or anywhere where you may be getting your music business advice, everyone who's writing that stuff assumes that your music is good.
Absolutely.
Right? And we all assume that you are putting in maximum effort to what you're doing so that whenever you present something to someone, it's the highest quality. And, they're much more willing to take a chance on you. There's a lot of things that, a lot of artists, we just assume you don't know, right? Like we might overlook a bad pitch every now and then, but that's only going to be because your music is that good.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't work the other way around. It's not just because, oh, well, I've got a great pitch and then your music is bad. It's like, oh, well, we'll post it because it was a good pitch.
Yeah, that's true. It most of the time, if the music is good, if it has to be really, really good, and there's no story to it, I will write about it just because the song hit me in a certain way. It struck a certain chord with me. I really liked what they did with something, and I'll kind of elaborate something. But 99% of the time, that does not happen. You have to have some kind of story. I have to know something about you so I can share it. But yeah, it happens all the time.
Okay. And I think you've kind of answered this, but do you feel like an artist should be reaching out to publications from the beginning? Or is it really just about, okay, as long as you're confident in your music, you should reach out to people?
That's a really good question as well. I think what you should, before you're reaching out to publications, I would get a lot of feedback from people you trust and maybe friends that, maybe your good friends, some family, some friends who aren't as good of friends, because sometimes your good friends and your family are going to be a little bit biased, and it doesn't matter what you release, they're going to tell you it's good. So get some honest feedback. If you have doubts about your music being a little bit, get some feedback from your friends, jot it down, what they thought, have them rate it, whatever you need to do. And if you think it's good enough, or if it's not good enough to your friends and all the family, the people you asked, I would continue working on building up your sound, practicing, building your sound and reshaping it. Because you don't want to be known as the artist that sends a new track over every week and it doesn't sound good. I know artists that have sent over a track every month and it's just not good. I just won't publish it. I just won't share it because they just need to keep working on it. And then I know some artists that they've been working on music for 3 years and this is the first track that they're releasing, but they've been working on, they have a whole archive of songs that they're ready to release. So it really depends on the artist. It doesn't hurt to reach out and start building connections with them, but I would not send your first, second, or third song over to publications, because if your sound isn't that good, you might be recognized or known as kind of that, like, they won't even listen to your read your emails anymore because they know that your music isn't good, and you don't want that reputation.
Right. Yeah, first impressions are definitely lasting impressions.
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, that's something that I talked about in my book, is the importance of making sure your music is ready before you send it over to anyone. And there are some great resources because Lennon's talking about, getting people that aren't just your friends and family to listen to your music and give you feedback. So one resource that I've mentioned is Crowd Review, which is a part of Reverb Nation now. It started out, it was called Audio Kite before, but you could submit your song and you'll pay for a certain report. And depending on how much money you pay, they'll send it to, a certain number of people. Each person's required to listen to the full song, and then they'll give you their honest feedback. There's a survey, and there's even like a kind of a short answer or essay type response. So you can get really detailed feedback for your music. They'll rate it. They'll tell you what they think it sounds like, whether they'd listen to it again. And so that gives you a great unbiased feedback on how your music is, what the quality of it is. And then another good resource is Submit Hub. Now, Submit Hub, you're submitting your music to bloggers or other journalists or people who may be writing about it for their publications. But again, it's sort of the same system where you pay for credits and you can submit your music to these blogs. And the great thing is, because if you send an email to someone, like a cold pitch, they could just ignore it. So you don't know if they read it or if they listened to it and just didn't like it or what. But with Submit Hub, every person is required to listen to the song and give feedback, or they don't get the money that you pay to submit your music. And so that's a great way to get feedback as well. Even if you don't come out with a blog post, you at least get feedback to say, okay, this is why I didn't post it.
Yeah, another cool thing with Submit Hub is you can pitch to blogs. You can also pitch to Spotify playlists, and you can also pitch to labels as well. So I think that's kind of cool, and I think as Submit Hub grows, it's going to continue adding different things you can pitch to, and it's much cleaner to submit through Submit Hub to some people than it is just to send an email. And be careful, because sometimes when you're pitching to publications, they will specifically ask you to submit your song through Submit Hub. And if you send them an email, they will not respond. They will not listen to it. It will just be deleted. So if you're not getting a response, maybe check to see how they want their song submitted. Maybe they have a Google form that they want you to submit. Maybe they have Submit Hub. Maybe they want you to send the link through Dropbox or something. You just have to follow the guidelines on how to submit and pitch your music.
Definitely. So I want to get into a little bit more of, the work you're doing on a personal level. And so you're managing 2 artists right now?
Yes.
Okay. You want to shout them out or talk about what they do?
The one of them, his name is IMU. He's in Austria. He's kind of doing a little bit of everything himself, and he's just kind of coming to me for moral support and asking me for some direction. He's bouncing ideas off of me. But artist management is really a team effort. He just did a guest mix for Noiseporn, which he did all of his own original music, some unreleased stuff as well. That was pretty cool. And then the other artist that I'm working with, his name is JV. He's released a couple songs through Artist Intelligence Agency, which is the company that owns EDM.com, through one of their labels called Your Secret. He also produced, prior to releasing through that, he produced Trevor Moran. He's a YouTuber with a few million subscribers. I've been following him for a couple years now. And he produced the lead single from his EP called Alive, which was pretty cool. That was kind of his first big thing. But they're both artists are still kind of new. Like IMU, he just started the project. He used to have another moniker called Umpire, which was pretty successful, but he didn't really like the direction it was going, and just some other personal things that he had to kind of separate from. And so he started up this new project, IMU, with a kind of an experimental trap, kind of shiny. It's kind of a unique sound. You kind of have to listen to it. So he's just working on that. He's building the branding for all of that. He designs all of his artwork, and also JV as well. He's recording a bunch of stuff. So both artists are kind of in their budding stages. They're releasing a few songs here and there. But I'm kind of doing a lot of minimalistic work at the moment because they're mainly focusing on getting music written up, kind of creating the stories, designing the artwork. JV just recorded a video and we released a song about a week or two ago with a friend of his. So that he recorded, they edited, everything completely on their own. So it's hard to manage them, I guess, in person because JV is in Brazil and IMU is in Austria. So it's hard to be there with the different time zones and everything. They're kind of doing their own thing, but I'm here to help do some PR work for them when they need and bounce ideas off of me, kind of give them directions and things that they should and shouldn't be doing. But yeah, it's kind of fun, but I'm excited for when they really get some traction and hit the ground running and then their careers both take off. I think it'll be really fun.
Nice. So you talked about management being a team effort. Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, management, a lot of people go at management as they have an artist and the artist will just tell them to do everything. You do this, the artist will just sit in the studio and work. Yeah, some artists will do that, and sometimes that works for some people. But in my opinion, in my experience, artist management is a team effort. So what that means, for example, IMU is a really good example of that. He has been chatting with a bunch of big labels. He has released through Circus Records, which is Flux Pavilion's label. He's been in talks with Monster Cat. He's been sending for a couple months now. I haven't had any affiliation with that, but I said if he ever needs help with anything, he can, call on me and I can jump in and help him. So, for example, like the Monster Cat thing, let's say he were to get a deal with Monster Cat. He could come to me and I would help him promote it on top of Monster Cat, and we would jump in and work as a team to ensure that release is successful, that everything is laid out right, all that fun stuff. So getting new opportunities for artists is going to be definitely something you need to work on together, because at the end of the day, it's their career, not mine. So if IMU, he said he wants to be featured, he wants to have a premiere eventually through Nest HQ. So he should work his magic and try to secure something, and I'll work my magic to try to build connections with people at Nest HQ. He'll work his end, all that stuff, and then we'll work together on what we've been doing to get him that placement on Nest HQ.
Got you. So you definitely make sure that your work is more of a collaboration with the artist as opposed to you kind of being off in the corner doing it.
Absolutely. And I don't want him doing more work than me, and I don't want me doing more work than him. This is your career, so I want to know what your goals are, and my job as a manager is to help you achieve those goals. That's how I view artist management anyway. Some people view it as, oh, I'm doing everything, I'm handling all the business deals, I'm handling everything. Sure, that works for some people, but for me, it's what are your dreams, what publications, what labels, what artists do you want to collaborate with? Let me see how we can get you to collaborate with those people, or get you on that label, or get you on that publication.
Right. Okay. So that's a great approach in my opinion. I think it's always about, because this is the music business, right? And there's a lot to be said. We talk about it a lot. Okay, it's the music business, and it's business, but it wouldn't be a business without the music. And the artist is who makes that music. So it's always important to make sure the artist is happy and the artist understands what's going on and is involved in their success, or else they're not going to necessarily take it seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to remember that being an artist is a business. There's a lot that goes into that, being an artist. There's the branding, there's the sound, there's the mixing, there's the collaboration, there's the royalties, there's traveling, there's touring, there's all kinds of stuff that goes into it. And just like any other business, whether it be a law firm, whether it be a real estate company, whether it be a tech company, it's not going to be successful without teamwork. It's the same thing. It's the same thing with an artist. There's an entire team. Like the Chainsmokers didn't get to be as successful as they are by themselves, Rihanna didn't get to be as successful as she is by herself. All these people have entire teams and are collaborating, working together to make the right moves for that artist in their best decision.
Definitely. All right. So, looking into just like the immediate future, what's next for you?
I guess I'm not really sure. At some point in my career, I want to score a film. I think that would be really fun. Like sit down with Hans Zimmer or some other film composer and just pick their brain and really learn a lot from that. But I think in the near future, I'm going to continue working on getting into artist management, continue with my publication, learning a little bit of everything about the business. Hopefully getting to Los Angeles. I've been trying to get out there since I graduated, but it's just financially not feasible at the moment. And I've been turned down opportunities because I don't live out there. So it's just like I think it's time to get out there, build those connections up again, and just say I'm here and I'm ready to work. So there's nothing. I guess I don't really have anything too specific that I want to do. I'm very open-minded. Like I could get out there and work for Apple Music. I could get out there and be a playlist curator for Spotify or Apple Music or some other publication or digital service provider. I'm just really open-minded because I'm still so young and my career is just getting started. So I want to learn anything and everything I can about the business before I sit down and really say, yeah, this is what I want to do for the next 30 or 40 years.
Right. Definitely. Well, man, it sounds like you're well on your way. I mean, your work speaks for itself, and your work ethic, I believe, speaks for itself.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem, man. And I wish you the best of luck with everything.
Thank you.
So, well, before we go, why don't you go ahead and let everyone know where they can find you?
The best way to find me is I'm usually trying to be on Twitter. You're more than welcome to add me on LinkedIn. You can shoot me an email. Just Lennon.Cihak, Cihak @yahoo.com. And you can also visit my website it's just LennonCihak.com, LENNON, like John Lennon, CIHAK.com.
Nice. Well, Lennon, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate you taking your time to speak with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me on the show, and I look forward to the final result, and I'll be sure to share on my end as well.
Perfect. And that's going to wrap up this week's episode of Music Business Dreams. So now you guys have everything you need to pitch your music to outlets and get your voice and your music heard. So, in case you needed something else, I actually included in the description below and in the show notes a link to our perfect email pitch. So we put this together a few months back, but basically it's a template that you can use. You can fill in the blanks with your music and your things. Now, obviously, like Lennon said, you want to make sure the pitch is personalized and that you really put time and effort into your pitch. But this template is going to give you a great starting point. So you can go to kdmr.us/perfectpitch or just look in the show notes and click that link. Download our perfect pitch template, and we'll see you in another episode next week.